Hello, Shannon Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artists That Play, and today I am going to show you how I did the beginning layers for my background for my newest bird portrait, Braving the Storm. I used a lot of materials in this drawing, so I will list those and link them for you in the description of the video. So here I am using my pastel pencils and my pan pastels to block in some of the shapes in the background. This one is a blurry tree, which I debated on whether or not I was even going to put it, but in the end I'm glad that I did. And I am trying to keep my shapes loose. I'm using just some shadows and pretty much just tones to describe the shape as opposed to hard lines, because everything is going to be muted in this background. I want it to be very blurry and I want it to feel blustery and snowy. So I am just getting the general shape of that tree. I am working with my Derwent drawing Chinese white, burnishing over that, going back and forth between that and my pastel pencils. And you can see up in the corner there how well the Chinese white is burnishing over that tree there. I have to apologize for the camera angle. It's not the best. I am still very new at doing time-lapse videos. Keep going back and forth between my pan pastels and my pencils. Putting in some snowflakes there. The impression of snowflakes anyway. Now I'm going in with a darker pastel pencil, and I am just reshaping the tree a little bit and adding some darker tones. I go back and forth with this tree quite a bit between lightening and darkening until I get to the tone that I actually like. Now I'm coming through with my pan pastels and I am doing a general underlayer. This really helps speed the painting along quite a bit. And you can actually start to see the blurry background coming together. You can tell that it's going to be a snow scene. Adding some lighter colors there. It's mostly just some grays, like a dark gray, a light gray, and some white. And I'm being somewhat careful when I'm going around the bird, but I'm not too worried about it because I know that some of those colors are going to be in the undertones of his feathers. So if a little bit of gray gets onto the bird, I'm not very concerned about it. And here I am just blending that pan pastel a little bit more, blurring things up a little bit. Had to adjust my camera there. I want to apologize. I don't know what's going on with my audio. It's acting very strange. So you may hear scribbling noises when I'm not actually putting any color on, or just weird noises, and it's giving me a difficult time recording, so please just bear with me. I'm just doing a little bit more work on that tree. I'm paying attention to my reference photo because even though it's a blurred background, I want the shapes, the abstract shapes, to be accurate since they represent real things. Going over it with my odorless mineral spirits and paying mind to where my blurry snowflakes are going to be in there. Going right back into it with my pan pastel to blur it out. I'm hoping that all my audio issues will be in the past now. So this is where I'm still paying attention to the shape of the tree there. Like I said before, I'm looking at my reference photo, paying attention to those abstract shapes. I'm now putting in some of the other branches that can be seen in the picture. Again, very abstract, but I'm still trying to pay attention to the direction of the branches, the color, and doing that with some of my Derwent drawing pencils. And a little bit of my pastel pencils as well. When I'm using the black Derwent, it's very strong, so I'm using very, very, very light strokes because I don't want it to overwhelm. But it gives me the right tone that I was looking for, so that's why I was using it. I never use just pure black. I will be going over it, as you can see, with layers of pan pastel and other colored pencils to blur things out a little bit more. There's a lot to this background. A lot of different layers. Pastel, then burnishing, pastel, then burnishing, then colored pencil. It was fun and messy and creative. I'm just going back in and defining those branches a little bit more, bringing them down towards the bird a little bit, blending them out again with my pan pastel. As you can see, it's just layer after layer. And really, I was only able to get the basic background recorded because my batteries had died, and it was kind of frustrating at first. But later on, I end up burnishing most of these layers with my Chinese white. And then I go in over it with the brush and pencil titanium white powder combined with the touch-up texture to kind of beef up some of the snowflakes that I have. So it's just the general idea here of the trees in the background. This is kind of the messy, ugly phase of the picture. And I guess every picture goes through that, but it's well worth sticking it out. A little bit more blurring. Again, I'm looking at my reference photo to try and be as accurate as I can with the shapes. A little bit of burnishing there. And I used a variety of colors in this. Some of them are a little bit more on the blue sides of grays. Some of them are a little bit warmer. For the most part, it was towards the cooler side besides some of the browns. Going back in a little bit with my black there. Trying to define it and blurring it out again. Now that I'm working on the right side of the paper a little bit more, I decided to bring in a piece of paper. Since I'm a lefty, I didn't want to smear the bird. Now I'm just putting in some branches over on this side. I apologize for the camera angle. Again, this is my first time ever doing this sort of video. I will get better, I promise. So funny, all the different shapes that you find in nature. Few wiry looking branches. And again, I go over every piece of this with many, many layers, so how it looks in this phase is definitely not how it will always look. It's just time and patience. But having the pastel underlayer really helped. It sped things up so much that I was able to get the whole background done within a day. And then I ended up working on the bird on a different day. I lost track of how long it actually took me. I kind of zoned out, so it was probably at least a few hours. But it was well worth all the time that I put into it. Again, I'm just going back and forth between my pastels, my pan pastels, and my colored pencils. Started to put in some rough shapes down there by the bird with my pan pastels, I should say. And I'm working on Stonehenge paper, I should mention. And I hear a lot of complaints from the Stonehenge paper that comes out of the pad, but this is out of the pad. And honestly, look at how many layers it has taken. And this isn't even close. It's not even close to the amount of layers that it will end up having in the end of the drawing. So I think it's a great paper. And it works well with pastel, too. Going back in with my OMS, just darkening things up a little bit. Blurring them out a little bit more with my Derwent Chinese White. And I am getting closer to the end of the video. It's not nearly the amount that I wanted to record, but as I said before, I had some technical difficulties with this video. I'm not used to recording myself, so I'll get the kinks out and I will get better at it, I promise. But this is really just the beginning of my experience with taping myself. And you can see the light is creeping up from my window. You can see it down there on my hand. So I'm still, again, just working in some trees. Now I'm going to bring in my stencil, and I am using that with my pan pastels to create some blurry snowflakes. Later on, in the later layers, I will be using that same stencil with my Derwent Chinese White to get more defined snowflakes. I go through and burnish everything with my Derwent White. And it actually helps because it makes things feel a little bit more permanent. They're less likely to smear after. So it really works well that I am able to burnish over my pan pastel. So this is pretty much what I have for you today. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to record more. As I said, my videos will get better as I go on. I will also post pictures of the my works in progress, at the end of the video, so you can see a little bit more of the layering that I did. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new. If you like what you see, hit subscribe.